Welcome to another episode of Camcast with your host, Cam. Nice to see you all again. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you all for those of you who consistently tune in. Today, we are going to have an interesting topic, and it's kind of a little in conjunction maybe with another topic we might have discussed. But that's the whole point. We like to build on different things. You know, there are always step ladders. So, of course, each topic that we talk about, kind of going more in depth on it. But without further ado, we're going to, of course, get into our first segment or topic or whatever. Today, decided to go a little seasonal. So we're going to, go with, of course, the tan or brown turtleneck sweater. I'm getting into turtlenecks more nowadays. Followed by a green or dark green and blue, and I guess black too, suit vest, along with some navy blue trousers with a gold window pane pattern, followed by some black dress socks and some brown loafers. Yes, some brown loafers. And I'll get into the loafers probably either later on this episode or in another episode of why it's good to rock the loafers every now and then. Penny loafers, what have you. Oh, and I almost forgot my silver watch that I'm wearing today. Yeah. So I decided to put on some jewelry, get a little classy. And so that's kind of basically the gist of it. So I hope y'all enjoy that, and So let's get into it. Roles. So today, the thing about roles is, well, like I said, are they man-made or natural? In other words, what we mean is roles can kind of sometimes also be connected to finding ourselves. So this is basically meaning like, what is your purpose? Are you in a position where the way you might live your life or carry yourself or the way you might think? In these ways, we tend to pass judgment or collect judgment. Sometimes it's our way of understanding the psychology of different people. Basically, what I'm saying is that, well, I remember actually when I was younger, I used to actually get assigned, I guess you would say, a lot of roles. Sometimes they can come from in our households and our families, basically just watching, of course, our immediate role models and our parents, our older siblings, if you will, and just basically taking what they say and, allowing that to be us. And that's fine too. Nothing's wrong with that. And then, of course, when you kind of get out into the work world or just the world in general, you may find that you are simply comfortable with the role that you have been placed or assigned to from your household. And that's fine too. It's completely okay. However, not everybody is that particular person. And I'm not really referring to myself when I say this. I just did some research on it, and I just discovered how basically, like I said, I remember when I was younger, a lot of different types of characteristics and adjectives, if you would say, that describe a person were kind of placed on me that, well, I didn't exactly agree with. And you can call it being a rebel, but I just didn't exactly agree with. And I said, well, that doesn't necessarily have to be the way that I continue to look at the world through that particular lens that is basically placed upon me by usually, honestly, some people that either I don't even know or barely know me. So, but in some cases, that's where they come from. So, and the thing about it is, I'm not saying to necessarily dodge the roles. However, we are talking about a little bit of resistance in a sense. So, I mean, if you know who you are and that's who you are, that's fine too. However, sometimes when we come into situations like this, you might encounter somebody that may have just not accepted or may have just not have, I guess, logged in to a particular role. And then we get to the point to where we find ourselves passing a little bit of judgments. So this then begins to make those persons feel uncomfortable. But I guess in reciprocity, or in basically on the flip side, we ourselves may feel uncomfortable too, because, well, this is something that we've never encountered before. And now, okay, well, this person isn't exactly they're doing something we may feel that is a little beyond our scope, because their target or goal or their focus may be beyond our scope or the scope that we understand. So the thing about this is that, well, it becomes an uncomfortable situation. But here's the thing, though. It's only uncomfortable probably because it's mental. It's just something we're not used to. Well, have you ever thought maybe that other person that has not really stuck to a assigned role, that they might feel uncomfortable basically being constantly told a role that they belong to according to our common rules of society? Think about that. So like I say, roles. I mean, sometimes what I've kind of figured out, well, I wouldn't really say figured out. It's just the conclusions that I might have come to, or the facts that, well, sometimes the mind can be a little endless, and we may sometimes run to these man-made roles because of, our experiences in life. And we found by doing these things by running to these roles or accepting the assignment of these roles might have made some situations or our outlooks on life a lot more easier or more comfortable for us to manage and cope with our certain feelings about those things, right? So basically what I'm saying is that sometimes it's basically just a way to kind of, relax, not be too stressed and watch the others continue to run the race. So, I mean, the thing about it is with roles, if we have the roles in our society that we have accepted, who's to say there aren't a whole nother set of roles just waiting to be discovered? Because truthfully, we've just been satisfied basically with what it is that we've seen or what it is that we know. So is it because we're afraid to become a threat to others, or we might be perceived as a threat? So the thing about it is it's just an interesting thing to kind of ponder about. Roles, where do they come from? I mean, we know we have them in our families. And then, of course, like I said, we tend to kind of deviate away from those who may not exactly, see the roles the same way that we do or want to follow them. I've actually known some celebrities who have basically both written things and said things that basically said that these were areas that they decided to just kind of push through. But the thing about it is that it is harder to do so. So, I mean, but yeah, roles. So think about the role that you might occupy from time to time whenever you meet somebody new, whether it be someone that you are actually like interested in, relationship wise, or just someone that you want to get to know, or someone that comes off as interested in getting to know who you are. What are some of the first things that you plan to tell them about yourself? I mean, that's the thing. So whenever you do tell them about these things, or you can even think about, hey, some of the things people you might have met in the past, that is. So what have you told them? Are you satisfied with some of the things that you told them? How did you feel after you told them those things about yourself? How did it make you feel? Just think about those. I do that all the time, honestly. I never really particularly go straight to characteristics of myself. I tend to kind of let other people get an idea of who they think I am, and after that, I kind of either approve or decline. So that's just kind of how that is. Me personally, I don't really like roles. I may go along to get along for the time being, but I don't really like roles. I Sometimes roles can honestly even be confused with rules. Now to think about it, I mean, psychological rules, basically, of the area in which you might be in or the situation you might be in. Sometimes you may feel that you have to become something that you're not for a temporary period of time, just to basically make it through whatever it is that you're a part of. However, so like I was saying, I find myself sometimes doing that on occasion, and really, it's not really a bad thing because you're basically kind of building yourself, you're culturing yourself. You're making yourself capable of being able to adjust to different climates and different settings. So that's also great too. But the thing is about it is, are you finding yourself stuck into that one piece, into that one spot? So with this being said, this actually leads to division sometimes because characteristics may collide. You might find yourself not being able to understand or accept or even give your attention the time of day to a role simply based off of judgment that might simply come from fear. I mean, and it's not always fear. It's just something you may not agree with. But the thing about it is, when we sustain to roles, we have to understand that sometimes this brings separation, even though we may consciously not see it. Subconsciously, we know we feel it. So, roles, I see them all the time in society. Honestly, every single day, I see them all the time. I've actually even asked some people, like, let's have a conversation about just people with roles. Honestly, I mean, the different roles you might come across each and every day, the different roles that we might have observed growing up as role models, the different roles that we might have observed in our households as children. Did they have any particular influences on us that we either like or dislike? So it's just pretty interesting to think about, honestly. Normally, a lot of the feedback that I got was some other perspectives that I chose to welcome and said, okay, I like that. That's different. I hadn't even considered that. So said things like, well, I mean, not everybody is built to, to be successful or this or that. And, of course, I was actually watching another podcast where somebody was basically saying about how, we have to be able to network with individual people or people from different backgrounds and things like that if you want to achieve a certain status. Or when I say status, I don't mean like as far as, the wealthiest person ever or something like that, most popular person. Basically, if you want a certain level of power, you could be only known by the people in your company or those you know. This doesn't mean you have to be known by everybody. But sometimes if you feel like it's your calling to basically be on top or get to a certain position, these are skills that you have to develop. You can also consider it a little bit of EQ, if you will. So, yeah. And then sometimes, of course, when others might see that they feel that you're capable of doing this, they take it as a personal vendetta to try to push you to say, hey, you can do this, you can go interact, you can do this, you can do that. But the thing about it is that sometimes everybody does have their own comfort zones and ways to which they feel, I'm honestly uncomfortable doing this, especially if I'm not really seeing other people around me doing it too. And then sometimes, of course, like I said, it could also be a role that we're stepping into. Sometimes you kind of have to leap and lead. That's one of my new things. I actually wrote that down in some poetry that I created. But sometimes we do have to leap and lead. And we have to say, okay, well, if no one else is going to do this, but, then, and I'm the only one, well, I'm the only one. And there's nothing wrong with that, Sometimes you have to kind of step into that spotlight and project. Because the thing is if you're that influential to where you are being encouraged to do things that you don't observe other people doing before you, and you feel like you're basically the first or the original, well, look at your following. You might influence others behind you to continue to do the same thing. But here is also the thing. If you find yourself in these positions or observing people that are doing these things, just let them be, I mean, sometimes negative comments and negative or just negativity thrown in the direction of these individuals, sometimes it can be positive, it could be, hey, sometimes I wish I was that person. And then, of course, sometimes we feel that, oh, this person is getting all the attention that secretly you probably adore and want for yourself. So what do you try to do is basically say, well, okay, well, how about I present a negative piece of attention to you, honestly, to probably get your attention, just like how you're gaining the attention of everybody else. If you're that person, it's okay. Because like I said, there's a time and place for everything, and there is a place for everyone. Like we say, roles, ROLES. And that's pretty much what we're talking about today. So if anybody else probably has an alternative perspective on whether they think they're man-made or natural, or of course acted on by influences and forces, let's talk about it. You have some people I've spoken to that agree with that, and then some people that disagree with them. And of course, they say, well, everybody's different and everybody's unique in their own way. You are absolutely correct. But have you ever thought about like a Venn diagram, or like the one with the 3 circles to it? Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that none of us are going to have anything in common, but you may run across those people that honestly don't have anything in common with the common people. And truth be told is, well, nothing's wrong with that. If that's what they've chosen to do, maybe that's how they were raised. So let's all consider all those aspects whenever we are interacting with these individuals that we've never come into contact with before. Because think about it. Technically, they've never come into contact with you before. Maybe, maybe not. Might depend on their age. Who knows? However, have the same open mind whenever they meet you, just as you expect them to have when you meet them. So, reciprocity. That's a word that we can take from this today. But yeah, roles. Question mark, question mark. Think about them. Do you find yourself occupying a role? Maybe you're unconscious of it. Maybe you're conscious of it. Where does it come from? Is it helping you? Are you achieving everything you want? Do you feel that this will allow you to reach your goal in life? Think about it. Give it some thought. Also, share this conversation with others you may know that you feel that they might need this conversation too, or this topic. Because honestly, I think these are some things that are probably most slept on around nowadays with most people. And honestly, sometimes it's slept on with me too, even though I'm able to observe it every time it comes across my face. Or, of course, someone decides to basically identify a role that they expect me to fulfill or expect me to basically play in, just like movie stars. I wouldn't really say athletes, but just like movie stars. So, yeah. So with all that being said, I hope you all enjoyed today's topic. If you would like me to talk about something else like this, or go more in depth on my opinions, or of course, the opinions that I've received from others, please leave a comment and let me know, and I'll be happy to do that. And once again, I thank you all for tuning in. I thank you all for tuning in to each of my other episodes, those of you who have done so. And we will continue to do this. And of course, I will be back next time on Camcast as your host, Cam. Everybody have a great day, and depending on whenever you're viewing this, happy holidays. So long for now.